might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to tips on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, March 18th, 2024. We are starting a little bit later than usual, but we are going to get in some work and then we're going to get onto our day, get onto our week. If you do not know who I am your host of the show. I am Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. So thank you so much for being here. If you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that I go live to drop new content for you. All right, so this is the Coffee and Kata show, and I just brewed the coffee, but I forgot it, but we'll just have to do without it this morning. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to jump into our news shows, but first, at noon today, Eastern time, we have our Candid Conversation coming out. That is going to be that was a very tough one for me to make. A lot of thoughts flowing through my mind, and we're just going to talk about it. I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback on it. So definitely tune into that at noon. Tomorrow night we're going to be going live with our Q&A. So looking forward to seeing you there as well. But let's get into it. Let's get into the morning show. All right, let's go put our timer up, and we're gonna go over to. Let me zoom in a bit first. And what I did was, although it might make the computer a little slower, once we get over to the Flutter part, I already started the device emulator so that we can so we don't have to wait a long time for it to get started up. Hopefully that's the case. But let's jump into it. Put our 5 minutes up. All right, so the first article from today, the first news article, is robots join the Mercedes assembly line. So Mercedes-Benz is turning to robots to handle repetitive and physically demanding tasks on the assembly line. The German car maker will test humanoid Apollo robots made by Texas-based Apptronic amid a shortage of reliable workers. The robots will help save automakers money because investing in automation is less expensive than changing production lines or plant layouts. You see? Look at that. Labor unions are against using humanoid robots. Of course they are like, duh. Claiming the move towards automation will eliminate jobs. Well, we'll get to that. AI-powered robotics could replace human workers such as masseuses. I don't know if I'd want a robot. When you do, okay, I take that back then, because when you do have those devices that are massaging you, that's on the way towards a robot. But they could also create new jobs, and prompt is reimagining the workplace. So I'll tell you this: the more that you complain about your job, don't think that they're just going to continue to make adjustments and modifications. They're just going to hire robots to do your job. You see, the keyword reliable workers and automation is less expensive than changing production lines. And I always tell you guys, right? You guys want to do manual testing, so I'm like, you got to embrace technology. You got to move towards automation. You got to move towards AI, how to use it properly. You don't just use AI for every single thing, because then you're not going to learn anything. You need to be very dynamic. And I always tell you guys that, but hey, what do I know? I'm just one 15-year senior QA engineer on YouTube. All right, let's move on to the next article. Apple molds Gemini for iPhones. Apple is in active negotiations to license and build Google's Gemini artificial intelligence models into the iPhone in updates this year, Bloomberg reports, citing anonymous sources. The deal, dubbed a blockbuster agreement that would shake up the AI industry, would put Google's AI in a commanding position with billions of users, but risks a significant escalation of antitrust scrutiny for both companies. It could also signal Apple may not be as advanced in its AI efforts as some might have hoped. Apple recently held discussions with OpenAI too, the source said. The generative AI feature is in question would be baked into Siri and other apps per Bloomberg. Apple has been testing its own large language model since early last year, but its AI technology remains inferior, harsh word, to tools from rivals, the sources said. Meanwhile, Apple's CarPlay has become its only hope of seriously cracking the automotive market now that the company has shut down its electric vehicle project. So, from having their own electric vehicle to just Apple CarPlay. Well, it is what it is. All right. So, now let's jump to the next one. Let's move on. So, a new bill calls for shorter work weeks. Wouldn't we all like that? The newly proposed legislation would cut the standard U.S. work week from 40 hours to 32 hours with no reduction in pay. You know what? Let me fix my sound. All right, with no reduction in pay. The law introduced by Senator Bernie Sanders would shorten work week progressively over 4 years, upending the 40-hour standard that's been in place since 1940. Major companies including Shake Shack and Kickstarter have previously toyed with the idea of a shorter work week, but critics say smaller businesses could suffer if the law is passed. And of course, what they're going to do is, because they're going to be targeting the bigger companies, so they're going to say, if you have a business that is less than 100 employees or something, then you're exempt from this law. But every other business, you have to adhere to the 32-hour work week. But I'm going to tell you, because spend a little bit more time on this one, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and maybe I'll do a full video on this. But okay, so major companies. All right, so we read that. They also argued that because such a law would raise labor costs, it could push jobs overseas and drive up consumer prices. Of course, a 2022 study conducted by the nonprofit 4-day week Global found that companies in the UK that switched to a shorter work week saw no significant change in revenue and productivity, but had less employee turnover. Sanders' bill would also lower the number of hours required for certain workers to receive overtime pay. So, real quick, this is what's going to happen, right? I highly doubt it's going to get passed in the first place. But if let's go to a world that if it did get passed, right, we would there'd be a lot more automation because, remember, drop in amount of time worked, but no drop in pay. And at the end of the day, the companies have to make money, right? So even though a 2022 study, right? This one study conducted by some organization who is in favor of this change said that so it's to me it's total BS, right? But what's going to happen is that they're going to end up hiring, companies are just going to hire more robots, right? And I think Tesla, Elon Musk came out are getting this ready at the perfect time because as more people want to work less or work at all, then they're replacing them, right? So now the article we just read about robots at Mercedes and the labor unions are complaining. Well, companies still have to get their work done, right? It's still a business. So then they're going to pass these laws saying, okay, if these type of companies are exempt, probably like hospitals and stuff, and then they're going to say, then the companies are now this was what the companies are going to do. They're going to just 1099 all of their employees, and now you lose off on your benefits. You lose off on so many different things, so many different benefits that you'd have, whether it's like insurance and PTO, equity, all of that stuff, right? Your 401ks, all of that gets missed out on, and then you're just working contract. And now working contract, you can work a lot more hours because you're paid per hour, and you don't get anything else. So it's gonna be very interesting. Like I don't think these people really like because these people like who never worked a day in their life, right? And who's never ran a business a day in their life, so they don't know. They just don't get it. Anyways, whatever. Let's keep going. So this one says American debt gets even heavier. So they want to work less, but they have more debt. But they want to spend. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Americans' debt get even heavier. So they want to work less, so they want to spend more money. All right. The rising cost of carrying debt is becoming a heavier burden for many Americans. Delinquency rates on credit cards and auto loans top pre-pandemic levels per the New York Federal Reserve. And for the first time, interest on non-mortgage debt, including those car loans and credit card balances, are as big as a burden as mortgage interest payments. Bloomberg reports those high borrowing costs could explain a slump in consumer sentiment, even as research suggests inflation is coming down and hiring remains strong. So, how about I have a novel idea? What is that novel idea? How about we don't spend money that we don't have? Well, we shall see. All right. Lastly, like I always like to do, the numbers to watch for this week. All right. So there goes our Fed chair, Jerome Powell. Says, all right, attention will focus on the Federal Reserve this week as policymakers meet to set interest rates and chart their future levels amid signs inflation is sticking. According to a Bloomberg survey of economists, the central bank is likely to hold rates steady for a fifth straight meeting and maintain projects for 3 rate cuts in 2024. Rates stand at a 23-year high as the Fed awaits signs that inflation is firmly on a downward path before pivoting to cuts. But growth in consumer and producer price increased for a second month in March. Right, so what the trend that I'm seeing, right, every single week. Hey, we might like decrease inflation, and then it's like, oh, actually, the week comes. Actually, it's gonna stay the same. Actually, it's gonna stay the same. Actually, it's gonna stay the same. They don't care, right? They don't care. Like you're so that goes back to the previous article. Stop spending money you don't have. All right. So, all right. So the dates and numbers to look for. Let's see. So tomorrow, Tuesday, March 19th, the U.S. Census Bureau will release the preliminary numbers of new building permits issued by the government and new home sales in February, which are a key housing market indicator. I am really curious to know. Maybe I'll look into this because I'm really curious to know how home sales are going. You know, I don't see as many homes for sale in my area as I used to see. I don't see as many people moving in as I used to see. I don't see many homes getting sold as I used to see. So it's going to be interesting. But the prices still look like they're way up there. The Federal Reserve Open Market Committee will meet to set interest rates. Okay, and that's on Wednesday, March 20th. Thursday, March 21st, the U.S. Labor Department will release initial jobless claims for the previous week. The report, a proxy for layoffs, tracks the number of people filing for unemployment benefits. And lastly, the National Association of Realtors will release its monthly report measuring the number of existing homes sold in February. All right, so that is our news for today. And let's go back to full screen. And we got my guy in the chat. What's going on, Mitch? Happy to have you here. Thank you so much. How you doing, Mitch? How you doing on this new week, on this Monday morning? Shout out to you, Mitch, as always. All right. So this is the mistake that I made, right? This is my mistake. I have the emulator started, but I didn't start the app on the emulator. So that is probably going to take some time. So I'm going to get it started now. And as that's going, we can start looking at our code and stuff. All right, let's put, what time is it? It is 50. Let's put 20 minutes on the clock, right? Put 20 minutes. Get out in good time. All right, so let's jump over to, so see, it's getting started, but let's take a look at our code. to see what else we have to do. These are our tests. And let me also pull up our backlog. Let's pull up our backlog. Pull up the right project. All right. So backlog. So we pretty much are done with this app crashes when large amounts. And like I said, by crashing, it was meant that it would stop calculating if we entered large amounts. So I think let me see. So I think we have the test for this too. We this goes in parallel with this, and use outline text boxes instead of snap. All right, so we did that as well. So what we're going to do, we are going to let's see. All right, so let's go back over here. Let's go back over here. All right. And let's see what we have. So we have a test for this. And these can come later. We have, go down to the bottom. So this, all right. So this test right here has to be 10 billion because it wasn't at 32 billion that it failed. So let's go with 10 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That makes 10 billion. And once that happens, we should be getting an error. Let's see. Let's get these out here. And let's go to a split screen. So what we want is when I put in that and greater than 9 billion, all the nines after it, or 10 billion one, I want to trigger that that need to. So and once I test for that, then when be done with our store backup. So let's see. Let's see. It's up here in this area. Okay, so show material dialog. That's where we need to the validation. So when you enter 10 million, we pump the here on a total annual income. We do that. We put the business level. Like that. So we need to add a key for this dialog. So let's go over here. And we're going to say, can we drop in a key right here? Okay, computer's kind of being slow on us, but okay. Let's see. I think it's because the emulator is trying to start. Probably should have. Well, not that it's it's trying to install. It's building the app, trying to install it on the emulator, which You don't do that ahead of time. But we'll figure it out. All right, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna say const key. We're gonna copy this key right here. So there goes the key. And now let's, well, would want to run it, but might slow things down even more. But let's run it. We'll take a chance and run it. Hopefully it doesn't blow up the whole computer. And we will see if let's see if it can find this. So let's run that. I have to pump and settle, but let's go. So we're nice when you're working with emulators and stuff like that. You want to get the emulators started, have the app installed on it, so that you don't have to wait a bunch of time getting set up. It takes time for it to get the app, the emulator, and you're sitting there waiting for a while. There's other things you can do in the meantime, but you want to get into testing and not sit on your computer too basically. So, and I have to change the name of this test as well because we're not doing 31, we're doing 10. All right, got this updated. And we're going to need a test for, so this is like a test where the error pops up, and then we're going to need a test for 9999 that does pop up the dialog box, right? So, and that doesn't work. You need to test your positive scenario as well as your negative scenario, but not just random. I remember one time when I first got started with like reaching out to more people to help them out, right? And I said, you have, so the scenarios, right, is you have you need to test something, and they tell you that the input can be between 1 and 50, right? How would you test it? What value would you use to test? And some people were saying, well, I'd use like 15. I would use, well, before, which Mitch, you'll appreciate this. Before they actually told me the numbers that they'll give me the whole reason and logic behind why they would do it. And they're using like these big words. I'm like, I don't know what these words mean. Can we dumb it down a little bit? Like, make it to my level. Like, oh, we're using these permutations and the theory of relativity and Einstein and stuff like that. I'm like, what in the world is this? So then after the whole spiel about like all that stuff, I'm like, okay, okay, so what's the number? That's all I wanted was the number, all I cared about was the number. And so they say, okay, so if I said between 0 and 50, what values would you be testing for? To validate. So someone's like, oh, maybe 15. And I'm like, why? Well, it's a number in the middle. I'm like, okay, what else? Maybe 100. I'm like, okay. Um, and those type of things. And I said, well, if the limit is if it's from 0 to 50, wouldn't you want to check? Or if I don't know, they say 0 to 50, whatever. So if it's between 0 to 50, wouldn't you want to check to make sure numbers starting at like 0 and 50 actually work? And then maybe a -1 and a 51 like don't work and get you an error? Like, so that's the thing about having theoretical knowledge. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday about the theoretical knowledge and being focused on like practical knowledge and through experience where you can start having like all this mumbo jumbo talk that doesn't really get you anywhere versus when you actually have that working experience and you can say, okay, so this is the practical way to actually test this. Um, does the does all that extra talk really mean anything to me? Not really, because at the end of the day, I just want the answer because it's like the in Billy Madison when they asked him about the Industrial Revolution and he blabbered on for a good 2 minutes and had absolutely no answer whatsoever. So just the answer, please. Like here's a word of advice. Everyone, this is for everyone. When you get asked a question, answer the question directly first, and then, if necessary, give context. Don't give context first, and then maybe, just maybe, answer the question. No, just get straight to the answer first, and then we'll go from there. All right. So what do we have here? So let's see. I thought, why is this here? Did this ever get started? Let me see. So it started here. And I should have my ads showing up as well. Let's see. This is the stuff. Or maybe I don't have the ads showing up. Or maybe the ads are crashing the app. Who knows? Um, all right, so it started here. So there's something in here that's causing it not to start. And it's probably the material thing. So let's see how we did it here. Oh, so we're looking here. Let's go up here. So here we did return material. But here we did. All right, so an app material app. So I think we did the same thing here. So we should do. Computer's going really slow. I have to mess with some settings. So time cost. All right, let's try this. see if we do. And we have to do this because, or I think we have to do this. And we have to do this because, or I think we have to do this because, in order to get the alert thing working, like we did on the, on the actual code, we're probably gonna have to do it like this. So by doing this, we should not have this exception anymore. Let's try it out. Running our test. And this is why testing is so important, because it prevents you from having obvious. I mean, there's always gonna be bugs that make it into production, but it prevents you from having obvious, like, catastrophic bugs and in production, you know? And that's why we work with tester and beta testing at different stages, control releases. So go outside this key here. And if this is like, oh, given that, for it to go through exchange and then try to find this key for the key, because that one already is, but this key, the error that will trigger the error dialog. We might have to change to pump and settle, but we did here. But at least if we can find it, that'll be, or it's not anymore. And then we should be able to move these 3 stories into, okay, so no test match, regular expression. Really? What? Oh, okay. Because when we ran it, it's had 31 and then we changed the name. So let's run it this way. Makes sense. Wish it took a little, wish it went a little faster to tell us, but all good. So as soon as this one is done, then we will wrap it up for today because time's running out. Tons of things to do.
Lunch break! Lunch break!
Let's give it a second and then we'll wrap it up for today. Yeah, like, I mean, if you think about it, we started in January working on this on a pivot. Started working on this in January. And we've built so much already. All right, let's see. This is run. And if it does happen to pass, we just have to continue to build on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say we have to do validate the alert is showing. Validate. So we got an error saying alert type alert dialog is not a subtype of text in cast. All right, so see where it got us to. Okay, cool. So okay, cool. So this should actually be alert dialog. Let's run it again. So you run it, it fails. You run it again until you run it till it passes. All right, but you have to make changes. It's not you're not just going to this is about to go off on me. Hold on. All right. Yeah, like you don't just keep running it without making any changes because then you're just going to be insane because you're just going to keep running the same thing with no changes at all and you're thinking that it's going to pass. All right, so to do that, we're going to say alert. The alert is showing, and then we're going to say that the text in the alert dialog is correct. And we're going to do another to do that says when you dismiss the alert, the fields reset to 0. Well, there's one more thing that happens in there. When you dismiss the alert, and it passed. So cool. So we're good. So now when we come back on Wednesday, we're going to work on this part right here. And I'll make sure I get everything started up so that we don't have to wait a bunch of time for the emulator to boot off, to kick off. All right. And then here we're going to say the hourly income input field resets to, or input field clears out. All right. So there we go. That is what we're going to, that's the plan. That's what we have left to do. So we see that this passed as the finding the alert, finding it as an alert. Now we're going to have to dig into it to make sure that the content is correct and it's doing all the stuff that it should be doing. All right. So let's go back to full screen. Hopefully that gave some good insight, some good understanding on what we're going to be, what we're doing, what we're going to be getting into on Wednesday. And, so that's our show for today. Thank you for spending the morning with me as we reviewed our news stories as we advanced our Flutter mobile development and our learning. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that we continue to learn, we continue to grow, we expand in our skills because maybe I don't try to get a job as a Flutter mobile developer, right? However, this does give me the opportunity to be able to work on a mobile development team, give insight, understand the languages being spoken, to be able to contribute to the thoughts and the ideas of the widget testing, things like that. So everything that we do is with a purpose and a reason in mind, and that's how I like to work. That's how I like to do it. It's not just. It looks like we might be doing a lot. I might think I have ADD, which I might. I definitely might. But there's a reason behind the madness, and it's for us to increase our knowledge to be able to talk about Terraform, and that's why we do that on Sundays to be able to talk about mobile development and say, oh, this is I built this, right? Very simple app, very basic, but use the amount of time and features that we have to think about and how we have to incorporate the bug fixes, the feedback, or we might be working on learning automation. We're going to be going on API testing very, very soon. So just being dynamic, being dangerous enough that you can pivot and that you can always bring value and insight to whatever team that you're working on. So just wanted to leave you with that on this wonderful Monday morning. This is Monday, March 18th. We are like 3 months in, right? Almost, or we're just about in April. It's like we just started the year and we're just about in April. So just wanted to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And I will be looking forward to seeing you guys on Candid Conversations at noon. And don't forget, we have a clip coming out at 3. And lastly, tomorrow night, we're going to go live with Q&A. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to tune into the chat. And you even have the opportunity to call in. You don't have to be on camera. Have a conversation. With that being said, before we head out, do me a big, big favor. If you haven't done so yet, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time we go live. If you're in need of one-on-one coaching, technical coaching with me, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev where you can see the different coaching plans that we have. All right. On that note, this is Tech Coach Ralph, and we are out.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts. Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again. Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.